Hey.
It's working. Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay! Can we hear Doran?
Yes.
Yay! It worked this time. No
I mean, they
technical
could hear me
difficulties.
before.
Shush! No technical difficulties this time. Hi there, everyone. Good evening.
Yes.
There's an echo with Doran's. Okay. What about now?
Oh no. There's a multiple me.
Hopefully that should do it.
More the better, right? No, okay, fair enough.
How about now, everyone? Is that better?
Yeah, I'm speaking to check if speak.
Doran is speaking.
I'm doing the speaking. I have more of me. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Wonderful. Okay. Hi everyone. Apologies that I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm literally just in from work, and as I was reminiscing to my good friend Doran, it has been an eventful journey home. But yes, hi everyone. Welcome to Fumble, folks. I am Ben. This is Doran. We are currently going to be going through our Homebrew Chats making a monster, or more specifically, making a monstrosity. Let's make that nice and big, just so everyone can see. Making a monstrosity.
Bold, underline it. Slanted.
Bold, underlined, and slanted. There you go.
Perfect.
Story time. You can have a story time if you want. Doran is a little quiet. Okay, bear with me one moment. Try now.
I am speaking at a normal volume for a normal human being. Yes.
How is that, chat?
How am I?
Wonderful.
Much better. Nice.
Yeah, I can give story time if people want. I mean, I don't think it's the most interesting story in the world, but definitely frustrating. But yes, this
faith
evening,
in humanity.
I haven't had faith in humanity in a long time. This evening we are going to be making a homebrew monster that I have come up with. That I am going to be spitballing the ideas at Doran. And because I love how Doran's brain works, Doran will spit things back at me that are more horrifying than I thought of, and we'll continuously make this thing more and more horrible together.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I don't know how I feel about that.
As a DM, it's a compliment. Let's put it that way. So, haven't come quite up with a name for it just yet, but I can give a physical description, which Doran knows what this physical description is, but for all of you in chat, let's go through it again. A 60 to 80 foot tall creature, long and gangly in its design, has a long torso with arms and legs that are almost humanoid in how they are shaped. It has arms that reach down like humans do, basically perpendicular in front, but also on the back in the exact same position but facing backwards, much the same as it does with its legs. It crawls and pulls itself through various different cavern systems. It is completely blind. It is completely deaf. It only can hunt by its sense of smell. And its face is made of basically a giant row of teeth. It is horrifying.
You've changed it since last time we've talked.
I have. It can smell you now.
It's gone a lot worse. Why?
I mean, is it better to say that it can smell you or that it can taste you in the air?
Oh,
Exactly.
both. It's worse. I don't. Does that mean you finally have put a use to the bar of soap item in Dungeons and Dragons, Ben?
I have.
But then again, you just still smell nice.
Yes. So it's mostly going to be trying to learn to use smells to obfuscate your smell. So basically something that's so overpowering that it can't find you. And I apologize, I am no artist, so do bear with.
I've also got a pen. I've also got paper and a pen. Because I am also no artist, so I've got multiple sheets of paper.
So I am going to attempt, or at least with my bad rudimentary drawings, to highlight how I'm envisaging this creature. One, two, three.
A nice uneven number for the maximum of uncomfortability.
Exactly.
We should make this better. Bring up MS Paint. No.
Oh god, no.
Make it even more terrifying.
God, I imagine this is riveting to look at.
I'm trying to think of a conversation topic while you're drawing. But my brain is just like
It's fine. I am very nearly done. I cannot explain to you how bad the knees look.
The knobbly knees.
Literally knobbly knees. So yeah, again, very bad art.
Okay, no, that helps quite a bit. To be fair, you have a cool eraser pen. Fuck. All right.
I do. I have a whiteboard that is not attached to anything, so I can pick it up and draw on it when I need to.
Does it have a face on the back of its face?
No. So it's
just got one face.
It's just got one head. So it's got two sets of shoulders. So basically, imagine your shoulders with a set of shoulders immediately behind it.
Yeah.
And the hips have four sockets as opposed to two sockets.
So it still has a front.
It still has a front, yes. It just does not have a top or bottom.
Yeah.
The top or bottom is all horrifying.
My mouse has run out of battery. Right.
Oh no.
I needed it. The most. Okay.
So what my intention is,
to scare adults into beds.
I mean, always that. But I think what a good idea is to make it on the same level as an adult dragon, or the lowest level adult dragon, which is brass or white, which is a CR13.
CR13.
So, CR13, adult brass, brass dragon. Okay, so let's just have a quick see whether this. Oh, it does. Adult brass dragon. It has the preset. Wonderful. Look at all the things it can do. I mean, We're not going to do all of these things because that's what the adult brass dragon does. But we're going to work our way back from what they can do and try and balance it for how we think should make sense. So, I am going to change it immediately from chaotic good to neutral evil.
This thing's just evil.
It's not chaotic evil. It doesn't have any intention. It is just a monstrosity.
It's just evil. It's just evil incarnate.
Cool. So that immediately goes to a huge monstrosity. Is it classed as huge or gigantic? Gargantuan.
It's 60 foot tall, so it's
Huge.
highlight is large.
Oh.
It'd be 32 foot is huge.
Here we go.
What's the one above huge? It's the one above huge.
Large, huge, and gargantuan. So a very large creature. Gargantuan is ancient dragon size or bigger, but that doesn't explain what it is in feet.
So the maximum you can be when you're huge is 32 foot.
Gargantuan.
Gargantuan, yeah. So it's the one above huge.
Gargantuan.
I had to learn this for Howlite.
That's kind of terrifying in and of itself.
I meant like, the whole signs range,
Sure you did.
Because
Sure
Howlite
you
can go
did.
up to a maximum of 16 foot.
I'd say I believe you, but that would be lying.
You don't know me.
That's right. You give it. You take a sippy sip. Okay, cool. So it has no fly-in speed.
Howlite is big.
Because that would be horrible. But we are going to give it.
Just flaps his arms real fast. It wants to have a flying speed, but it can't.
Yeah, we're going to give you an additional burrow speed of 50.
You know the holes that ants make? I imagine it's a lot like that, but big.
Yeah, yes, pretty much. So we're going to remove the history, we're going to remove the persuasion, and we're going to remove the stealth, because I don't think it has the ability to do any of that. It is immune to being blinded.
Because it's already blinded.
It's already blinded. It's also immune to being deafened, because it has no ears.
The bard is kind of fucked with a bunch of these spells then. Because it requires a thing to hear you.
Yes, correct.
Oh no!
Correct.
Oh no!
I am also going to say that no, it's not going to have any resistances, but it is going to be vulnerable. I'm going to say to radiant because it's underground. It does not understand any languages.
It can't. Yeah.
No. Its intelligence is going down
could
to
learn Braille, I guess.
It's going to go down to a 4. Blind sight. 0. Dark vision. 0. I am going to use tremor sense because it's the equivalency. So I'm going to give it 120 feet of tremor sense.
So, as a DM, my original way to get around this monster would be with Pass Without Trace.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it specifically says in the spell that you cannot be traced unless with magical means. Does that count for smell as well?
Yes, correct.
So it's still Pass Without Trace would still be relatively a good way to get around this monster.
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
Again, the way to think about monsters like this is that they're not actually a monster to fight. They are a obstacle or a force of nature to avoid.
Yeah, well, to go around or through whichever way you can come up with.
Exactly, yeah. It's like you could fight it if you want.
I wouldn't want to.
Exactly. It's not in your interest.
I imagine it has like tons of like jagged hairs like on its hands and little feet and just...
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was gonna make it completely bald, but if you want to make it hairy, let's make it hairy.
Only on like the hands. Can you remember the Spider-Man scene from Tobey Maguire and his little hairs jetted out of his skin? That is what I remember.
Yes.
And like, because I'm trying to think of like how does it function?
Poorly is how it functions.
Poorly and in pain. Always constantly in pain.
So this is from an area that is, for lack of a better term, similar to the Underdark, but worse.
It's kind of like it's the Deep Road, right?
The Shadow Roads.
Shadow Roads.
Okay, so we do need to come up with a name for this thing. So what are we going to call it?
Of the thing?
Yes, of the thing.
The Tunnel Lurker.
That'll work.
For now, at least. I don't know. It's all my brain can think of. Other than A in a line.
Yeah, I am fine with that. That's an ability. So we're going to give it the legendary resistance, much the same as the dragon has, which is just to succeed on a saving throw if it needs to. That's fine. We're going to take away its tail attack, because it doesn't have one. We can leave the bite attack as it is. We can leave the claw attack as it is. I am going to increase that to 10 feet, though. Because I want to.
Because I want to.
Yep. Frightful Presence. Each creature of the dragon's choice that is within 120 feet of the dragon and aware of it must succeed on a DC Wisdom saving throw, or we become frightened for 1 minute. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. That doesn't really fit. Because it's a...
Sorry, I'm reading chat.
Crawling Devourer is pretty good.
Keep thinking about chat.
Yeah, keep going for it, chat. We'll come to a consensus. So I do want to give it something like Frightful Presence or something along those lines, but Frightful Presence doesn't quite work. So let's get rid of the breath weapons because it doesn't have any. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Detect. Yeah, that definitely fits. Okay, so I apologize for everyone who can't see this little drop down because I understand that it doesn't appear on your side of things.
It's not.
So I'm just going to give it a quick read through because I'm looking for something. I'm not entirely sure what. But I want to give it some kind of fearful or whatever. So, anti-magic susceptibility, no. Corrode metal, no. What is dark devotion when it's at home? Has advantage.
Will this thing have? Okay.
The monster has advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. I mean, yeah, kind of, but yes. Anyway, carry on. You were saying?
Would this thing have lair actions? Like, would you naturally find? Would you stumble upon this thing's lair, or is it a hunter?
It's a hunter.
Okay.
It's a perpetual hunter.
Right.
As in,
so it doesn't stay in one place.
No. So imagine it like a shark or something like that.
Mhm.
You know, it like how fish are, like they have basically sleep, movement, eat, repeat.
Yeah.
Essentially that. We're talking that level of life form, just huge. Divine awareness. No, that's cruel even for me.
Just knows you where you are, wherever you go.
Always. Fear aura. Any creature hostile to the monster that starts its turn within blank amount of feet must make a wisdom saving throw unless the monster is incapacitated. On a failed save, the creature is frightened until the... See, the issue with frightened is that it means you have to move away.
Does it? Do you have to move away? I always thought frightened is you
can't move forward.
Can't move forward, but you can move away.
Yeah.
It's just you can't get close to the thing. It's not that you have to move away. And if you want to attack something, as long as it's in your sight, you get disadvantage.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Then I might have this as its... one of its abilities then, or its legendary action. What do we think is a fair saving throw for it?
It's a dragon, right? Dragon level.
Yeah, which was a 16, I believe.
It's a wisdom.
So I think a 16 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna say within 60 feet of it. Then add that as I want to have it as an ability.
It is messed up.
Oh no! Come on. Oh no, it's taken it as Way Giant. No. No. Did that. Do we need to change that?
I'm trying to think of what that Australian spider is called. That literally just tunnels a hole into your back garden and wait for pets to walk past.
There's many of them. You have to narrow it down.
The ones that many Australians pour gasoline into the holes to set on fire.
Oh yeah, that one.
It's not a huntsman, I don't think.
No, it's just equally as terrifying.
Because I just imagine this thing just like in a hole, just not watching you because it can't see, but still tracking you with its face, hole, mouth.
Yeah.
Does it have a Voldemort nose?
It doesn't have a nose. It's gonna have slits. And
So
I was gonna put
have a Voldemort nose.
But I was gonna put the nostrils on either side of its mouth.
Oh no! Why is this thing so fucked?
Because it evolved in a horrible, horrible place.
I need to find who made this thing and who allowed it to be a thing.
Me and me.
In canon.
Also me.
So what was this thing before it evolved to be like this? Like, what?
God's reject, apparently.
The world's hate and despair. Thrown into a hole and left there until it grew legs to climb out of it.
The tunnel lurker was born, and the world shuddered.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's something that we could possibly talk about. Have you watched Arcane yet?
I've watched... What's the first arc? How many episodes is the first arc? I've watched the first arc and the first episode. So I watched 4 episodes.
So I finished it, so where have you seen up to? So I don't.
Is the chat aware? Spoilers potentially.
Yes. Oh, yes. Unfortunately, okay, no spoilers at all. Okay, so we'll talk about it without spoilers. Oh my god, that art style!
I like it. Yeah, it's
It
very
is one of the most gorgeous looking animated films I've seen in a very, very long time.
Cool. But it's just sorry, I'm using of just a cough in the fucking mic. I do cough. But it's not just the art style; it's just the character models in general. Because like
Yeah.
it's not just a still image; it's great. It's amazing.
Well, they're doing something. No. You can carry on, Brie. We're not going to actually talk about anything to do with it. They're animating on 30 to 50 frames a second, which is insane. Traditional animation, for those of you who don't know, is anywhere between 24 frames a second to 12 frames a second. That is what made Spider-Verse so distinct, is that they were animating on twos, so 12 frames to the second, so it had that kind of jutty stop. Whereas this, they've gone so far beyond what they needed to that every little nuance can be done, and it's gorgeous. And I only genuinely some of the shots in that, which you haven't seen yet, are somewhat like genuinely achingly beautiful cinematography in that.
Yeah.
Like as a cinephile that I am, like absolutely phenomenal story.
How long is it? I can't remember.
It is 9 episodes. Works out as just over 6 hours.
I'm halfway through it then.
So it's actually not quite cell shading, Phil. It's the similar technique, but it's something that they're coining themselves, which is instead of cell shading, which uses more traditional watercolor, it's pastels. So all of the shininess that you would usually get in certain characters, all of that kind of stuff is gone unless it is intentionally drawn in. The longest episode is 49 minutes. Like incredible. Like it's Netflix's highest rated show of all time, both critically and by users.
Really? Even beat out Squid Game?
Even beaten out Squid Game. Squid Game has got more viewership. Squid Game has got more viewership at the moment, but critically, Arcane is their highest rated property of all time.
Aye.
So much so that on the day of the release of episodes 7, 8, and 9, which is because they released them in 3 chunks, 3 episodes on week 1, 3 episodes on week 2, 3 episodes on week 3, they already greenlit season 2 because it has already made enough money back in the first 3 episodes to justify a second season.
I hope other animated shows take a fucking note.
Yeah.
Put some money into it. Give money back.
It's not even just about like how it's animated. It's like the storytelling is just like it's so well thought out, and like I can say this to you, Doran, and I'm going to say it in a roundabout way to episode 1 compared to episode 4 lulled you into a false sense of security, right?
Yeah.
you didn't quite see where episode 3 specifically was probably going. Much the same as I
played
didn't.
The game, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, I've played the games as well, but the tonality shift, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like,
no.
like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's a bunch of people who obviously deeply care about the property, but the property has also been given license to completely breathe on its own.
Yeah. Like you couldn't generally enjoy the show without playing the games, without knowing any of the characters or anything like that.
Yeah, I've played maybe 4 or 5 hours of League.
I played a bit longer, but yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never fell into the League rabbit hole. It never. I played it a little bit, went, it's kind of cool. It's not for me. The community's too toxic.
Yeah, I played a little bit longer to get that same adjustment.
Yeah, we are kind of making a monster, but sorry, I got a bit distracted about just generally chatting.
Shooting the shit.
Yeah, shooting the shit. Yes, let's find a legendary.
What does it attack
action.
with?
It's
just mouth? Is it grapple?
It's claws and its teeth.
Okay. Is it mouth just like a blender? Does it not crunch down? Does it just go out in a circle? like a fucking, was it a pencil sharpener?
I do not know how. I mean, that would be what, like a tapeworm? Because they have circular mouths with teeth, like inside them.
Yeah. Like it just like picks you up and you're like and you just, a person just slowly disappears as they turn into mush.
I'm gonna say no.
Good.
Purely for the fact of, if it's clawing through things, it's not going to be wanting to eat dirt all the time. So the ability to close its mouth is probably good.
How does it burrow?
With its claws, literally.
Okay, so it doesn't like drill forward as well either.
Yeah, it's not doing a full, here's Johnny! Ooh, Phillbeard. It looks like they're using minor things as nods for the fans, like blah 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 blah, but nothing essential to the plot. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we could give it a try. Split mouth. I mean, the only issue that I have.
What is a tri-split mouth?
So like a predator.
Or like a. Oh yeah. It took me a second.
The only issue that I have with that is that makes it very similar to a monster that is in Stranger Things.
The Demigorgon.
The Demogorgon, exactly. Which looks nothing like a Demogorgon, but...
No. Didn't Wizard of the Coast make a monster that looks like it now? That's called Demogorgon. I don't know.
They did, yes. I mean, they would be stupid to not have capitalized on that thing.
Yeah.
We're not giving it pounce. This thing doesn't need pounce.
It just drops from the ceiling. No, we already made something that just falls on you to kill you.
Does that mean it has inherent featherfall, so it always lands very delicately, just...
Oh my god, that would be terrifying. Just that huge form just being so silent as it drops down and scuttles around.
Ooh, there we go, Tunneler. This monster can break through solid rock at half its burrow speed and leaves a... Oh, fucking hell. 50-foot diameter tunnel in its wake.
Dude. You should be working on the London Underground.
Yeah, boy.
Could you ride one? If you erased your scent and just had like a piece of meat on a stick.
I mean, probably. I wouldn't recommend it. It wouldn't end well for you.
Because it can still feel, right?
Yeah,
you can still,
It's still got physical sensations. Just knowing what that physical sensation means, because I highly doubt anything is, stupid enough to land on its back. Or, torso.
Yeah.
Do we want to put relentless on
Oh,
it?
yeah, because, like, if you went on his back, it could just, like...
Yeah, literally just grabs you with the other bit.
Yeah, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, let's give it a parry reaction. That's what it needs.
It's just got holding two swords with his other hands.
Labyrinthian Recall. The
Do they have
monster...
really long nails? Like fingernails?
I was essentially just going to make the claws... Imagine, like, sloth claws.
Okay. Yeah.
But not a useless predator that a sloth is. Do you know the most common cause of sloth death?
Or a weird phrase to ask someone. No.
Do you know? The most common way that a sloth dies is by mistaking its own arm for a branch and grabbing its arm and falling to its death. Yep.
Okay, so how is it still alive? Okay, yeah.
Do you want to know what the other thing is? Sloths
What?
have only one natural predator.
Themselves. What?
No. I can't remember what it is, but it's a ground-based predator. The predator can't climb, right?
So the only way you can get it when it's going to poop.
Correct, because sloths refuse to poop from trees.
Yes.
So they actively
and it takes them like 3 weeks to poop.
Yeah, they actively go to the most vulnerable place that they can be, do the most vulnerable thing that they can do, in the only place that their natural predator can get them.
They're just asking to die.
How have they survived?
The natural predator is not very active, I guess.
Apparently.
So it's got sloth claw.
Oh yeah, predators. Jaguars can also get them. Yeah, but it's not their
active.
Yeah, it's not their their sloths aren't their primary prey, if I remember correctly.
It's like koalas only having a taste for one specific leaf, and if they refuse to eat anything else, then they just die because they can't find that one specific leaf.
Yeah, despite that specific leaf having next to no nutritional value whatsoever.
And being really rare.
And being really rare.
Bushfires.
And actually, technically poisonous.
Oh no.
The entirety of that continent is just
How? Why?
How?
How and why?
Yeah, why?
Like, what's the purpose of this animal existing? And how is it still existing?
That's the one. How is it still existing? I cannot find a legendary action that I am happy with. I'm not going to be a fucking teleport.
How do we make one?
We can make one from scratch, but I don't really know what to give it. If you have an idea, by all means.
I have an idea.
Okay.
How about of like some kind of squirt or like a pollen thing it can shoot out that sticks to people and it smells really bad, so they can be tracked very easily, which would give it potential advantage on hitting something, or maybe it makes it hard if someone wants to run away. They can travel. They can track the thing, can track it down for days.
So what you're suggesting? They'll give it a skunk gland.
Yes.
On its face?
Legendary action. I don't know, maybe it can blind someone if it gets squirted in the eyes.
Okay. What the hell are we calling this thing?
Dynamic marking.
Dynamic marking. Nice. The mon makes a...
Maybe not. I stole that straight from Naruto.
God damn you.
It's the move of when the dog spins around and pisses on everyone.
I wasn't a weeb at that point when Naruto was popular.
But dynamic marking is so good. Maybe not dynamic. Something marking.
See, if you hadn't said anything, I would have been really happy with that. And now it's... Oh.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be like, you got that straight from Naruto. And you'd be like, what? What? No?
What is a Naruto?
What the fuck is a Naruto? All I know is it's Boruto. No.
From what? From Boruto's dad? What are you on about?
Yeah. Oh no. Marking.
Who are you and what is a Shippuden?
No, my glasses.
Oh, my glasses. I can't see a thing without my glasses.
Oh no.
Poor Velma.
That thing has that voice. Can it speak? Even though it can't hear? Or what
no,
noise
it can't
does it
speak.
make? What noise does it make?
I don't think it knows. I don't imagine that it has.
Of course it doesn't know, but I want to know. What do I need to be afraid of?
Probably just the sound of its claws scratching against... Yeah.
Okay.
That's something that we should make. It's a book that I have up there, and a Netflix film that had Natalie Portman in it. Area X.
I think I've heard of it.
It was like basically like this weird little meteorite landed on Earth, and the radiation that it gave off was rapidly mutating everything within its general vicinity. But there's a monster in there that is mutated from a bear that when it kills someone, it kills them slowly so it can learn their vocal patterns to hunt other things within its pack by sounding like the thing that it's just killed. So there's this bear
evil.
that is like wandering around, and it is giving off the sound of these characters that you've grown attached to, crying and going, "Help me," and things like that.
Like a murderer's Kenku.
Yes.
That's a monster.
Annihilation. Thank you, Phil. The book is called Area X.
How about dynamic imprinting?
Dynamic.
What's imprint? What's the definition of imprint?
Imprinting doesn't quite work. Because that's visualizing someone and then imprinting it in your mind.
I mean, that could work. Like maybe
we'd have to change it from dynamic to something to do with with scent. So if you can synonym scent for me, that'd be great.
Synonym scent.
Synonym, not cinnamon. Synonym. Makes a sprays a noxious smelling liquid.
aura?
Maybe. Upon a failed dexterity saving throw, DC. Let's give it a DC of 18 because it's a legendary action. Why not?
Be smelling for weeks.
Creature. The target.
Redolence.
Ooh, we'll take
Redolence.
We'll take that in a second. The target is marked with a particular stench for the next 24 hours. The Mon is able to track the target for within a distance of...
Should it be a cone?
No, I was gonna, instead of a cone, I was just gonna make it like a globule.
Ugh. So it splashes?
Yeah. Do we want to
15.
Within a distance of half a mile?
What's half a mile?
Well, it's the distance you would travel roughly 6 miles in an hour, I think it's.
Yeah.
So it's roughly 15 minutes of consistent, like, it hasn't moved and you've gotten 15 minutes away from it, like in a straight line. So I think half a mile is...
So if you knock something to unconsciousness or you put something to sleep, how long does it stay knock unconscious roughly? Isn't it like 1d? Like, isn't it like 1d4 hours?
Yes. I mean, in the real world, that's not how it works, because if you were unconscious for that amount of time, you'd be brain dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, because you may be out, but you're unconscious, which means your brain is switched off.
Yeah.
For like maybe a couple of seconds. If you were unconscious for like the 20 hours or something, like they imply in films, you would actually be oxygen deprived and your brain would die.
God.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yes, Phil, we could do something for a monstrosity like that, but that would have to be a different monster, I believe, because giving this thing that would be horrifying. So, what did you give me a name? What would we recall in it?
Redolence.
Redolence.
And pungent odor or agreeable odor. A pungent scent or agreeable odor.
Redulance. No, redolence. Dolence.
Put it in chat.
Cool. Let's update that.
Boom.
Cool. So what have you said, Mr. May? If you have a load of tunnels, it's burrowed under the ground. Have a young one separate your party in a maze of tunnels and creep your players out as they call out in tunnels. You can say you hear Ragnar calling out and then follow it, but it's not Ragnar. Yes, I love the idea of mimic creatures just because I'm a sucker for making horror creatures.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have gotten very comfortable with a lot of monsters.
Mm.
Like, if I say to you, there's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your reaction is, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Like obviously you're gonna roleplay your character by going, oh no.
What the fuck?
But you as a person, you're like, oh cool, a werewolf.
Yeah. That's pretty right. I hope I don't get infected.
Yeah, exactly. Or if I turn around to you and say, a zombie.
That's fine. That's not even. That's less of a. That's like, all right. It's kind of easy, I guess. One zombie. All right.
Or a vampire.
Just close the door.
But if I turn around to you and say something along the lines of, we'll use the werewolf for example.
Yeah.
You see before you a hulking creature standing anywhere between 8 to 10 feet tall, covered in matted, wet fur, with this gnarled, blood-soaked drizzle running from its mouth. Hunched on all fours, its spine looks twisted and misformed. Powerful hind legs with claws that sink deep into the earth as it begins to stare at you. You hear a low guttural growl as it begins to sink and begins to circle where it knows you to be, gently sniffing at the air. What do you do?
Curl down and die. It's 8 foot tall, well as on fours. Just death.
Yeah.
It's just death.
Exactly.
Die.
But that is just a werewolf. It's a werewolf.
Yeah.
Technically, probably a werebear, but you know.
Yeah.
That's fine, Phillbeard. That is why you are here. Can you give us another? Can you give us another word that now makes sense? Because apparently, redolence is now used for is now a synonym for reminiscent, because redolence is an archaic term as opposed to an active term now. Just good to know.
Maybe it is a smell that you like. It's like, oh, it's a nice smell. It's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's got terrible consequences.
Terrible
smells like
consequences. Phenomenal cosmic power. Teeny tiny living space.
Or if you're a genie Almet, pretty alright living space. In comparison to what it usually has.
Yes, exactly. Let's think of a term. What can we use to imply?
I love my archaic terms.
Yeah, pungent. I don't.
Before.
Yeah, exactly, and without trying to sound like a snob, it's
squoosh.
It's a common enough word.
I found a word that's not common, but it sounds just silly.
What's
Squoosh.
That? Squoosh. Yeah, we're not calling it squoosh.
Squoosh.
It's like saying that we're gonna go squanching.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Rick and Morty reference.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Yeah, let's just call it pungent marking for now.
Yeah.
And if at some point in the future we can think of something better, we can always rename it at a later date. Cool. So I didn't really feel the need to change his armor class or his hit points or anything like that, because I think all that's pretty fine. We dropped down its intelligence, left its con as it is, left its strength as it is. Oh, we can drop down its charisma.
Or make it higher. but it's less for persuading, more for scaring the bejesus out of you.
Yeah, that's why it's got the fear aura, though, because the aura doesn't actually work on charisma, it's just on its presence.
Hmm.
And I'm
Makes
going
sense.
to give that a bump to a 15. It's only got smells. Cool, so that's a 20, 23, 10, 21, 4, 15, 5. It can do bite attack, plus 11 to hit, that does an average of 17 damage, and plus 11 to hit on the claws, which is an average of 13 damage. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. Let's view image so I can save it. Wunderbar. Cool. Christ, are we going to have to try and make a
Parfam.
Parfam? What is that when it's at home?
It's just for a nice smelling odor that lays on the skin.
Well, that is not what it is.
But it's so close, though.
It's so close. So I think we're probably going to go for a little break now, because we've been here for about an hour. We will come back at 9:15 and continue on from there, if that's okay with you, Doran.
Yes.
Wonderful. Catch you all in a little bit, guys. Hi everyone. Sorry, that was a little longer than intended. Got a little bit distracted with talking about things and stuff and things and stuff. Hi there.
Future plans.
Future plans. Because we have made a monster, and we made the monster relatively quickly, and I'm not quite sure what else to do. We're just going to make a battle map while we're here.
But thank you so much for rating us, by the way.
Yes,
sorry we were on break for so long.
Thank you very much, Pangolin. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did I see that you were playing Ori and the Blind Forest, or was it Ori and the Will of the Wisps? Because both of those games, while I haven't been fortunate enough to play them, look absolutely phenomenal. They are very, very good looking games. Because if I'm correct in saying, they are completely hand-drawn animation. Much the same as not in the same style, but yeah, they make a lot of people cry. Don't worry, Pangolin. A lot of people get the weepies when they play those ones. One of my favourite streamers, his wife doesn't particularly play games, but she's played both of those when they both came out, and was very much in tears. And it was both very cute and very sad.
So, what are you using right now to make the map?
I am using Incarnate.
Incarnate. I always thought it was Incarnate.
No, so Incarnate is what it's riffing on.
Ah.
But the actual website is Incarnate.
I see. Have I ever told you that I once made a world like what you're doing now with Bree and Phil?
You have never told me that.
Well, I once tried very, very hard, and I did one session of it, and I was like, never again.
Oh no, why not?
I don't know. It's just like, it's not that I had like bad players or anything. It's just as soon as I started doing it, I was like, I really hate this.
What?
I
the
would
world
rather
or DMing?
DMing is the thing I hated the most.
Fair enough. Yeah, I know it's not for everyone. It's it's a unique skill, shall we say?
It's
One
also a
that,
unique passion and love, though.
yes,
Like I had the want to do it because I felt like I had a cool idea of a world in mind, and I was like, it's just I can't do it. I don't know. I hated it more than anything.
you're not the first person I've heard say that. You won't be the last person to say it to me.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately one of those things of, well, what's the best way to put it? You've got to have a want to be a storyteller rather than a story participant.
Yeah.
And until you've gone down that route, it's very, very hard to know what you actually want as the differentiation.
Yeah. I
Yes,
know. It's just
Pangolin, it is difficult. Some people find it easier than others. I'm quite fortunate in that I have the ability to improv, which makes life a lot easier.
yeah.
But obviously, not everyone has that ability, and it can lead to frustration or difficulty on some people's behalves. Especially if people don't stick to plots or whatever else. But yeah, but I also know DMs that love to like hyper corral their players, and that's fine. That's a perfectly valid way of DMing. It's just not how I would like to DM personally. It's not how I would want to play in a campaign personally. I like that I'm partial to the nonsense of saying something randomly and going, then ending up in this unknown place that the DM has made up on the spot with, Jim Bob the farmer and his three kids, Lisa, Nisa, and Misa.
Yeah.
Again, one of the most entertaining things that's happened in our games recently is talking to that goddamn squirrel, which was definitely on the spot.
Yeah.
Because there was no way that Sam could have predicted that, but it genuinely had me rolling because it was so thoroughly entertaining.
Warburg. Yeah. Like I don't know. It's just I've always had I've always felt like I could improv with the best of them and all that, but it's always initiating the gears to move forward. Like I can spit out ideas, but not unless someone interacts with it first. I don't know
Yeah, that's fair enough. And again,
if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I understand what you're getting at. Again, it's one of those things that is an acquired skill. It's definitely not something you're born with. I'm fortunate that I have a little bit of a theatre background. Not a lot of one. I did it
Fancy
for
boy.
nowhere near fancy. But I did it for quite a long time in my youth. So I've at least been there. I've done a little bit of improv and all that kind of stuff when I was in uni, even though I absolutely hated it at the time because I've never considered myself funny, but that's another conversation.
I mean, I think you're funny.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Too bad I can't see it myself through other people's eyes, because then
I know, right?
I'd be less harsh on myself. Good job. I don't know what you threw, but well done.
It was the glasses on top of my head because I keep forgetting they're there. And I don't know why they're there. I don't know why I put them there in the first place. Just I wanted to be extra, I guess. Cry.
Doran, you're always extra, babe. You know that.
That's the plan. That's the want. That's the dream. That's the goal.
That's the one. That's the dream. That's the want. That's the need.
Yes.
Cool. Let's get some cliffs, shall we?
But these are my literal rose-colored glasses.
Oh,
I'd love to see the world through.
They're your rose tints, are they?
Yeah.
How is your rose tint treating you?
You know, not as well these days.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
A lot of personal stuff. Shattered my rose tints recently. Oh boy. Oh boy. But yeah, the homebrew world I made.
Yes.
Going completely.
Tell me about it.
It was called Scardstone.
Okay.
Continent. And the idea was, it was one huge landmass of like they had no islands. It was just one glob of a map of a rock.
Yeah.
And it was high magic area, like just the world was brimming with magic.
Yep.
And a bunch of wizards wanted to harness it and use it, and they made a super weapon. And they decided this didn't like a certain amount of people, so they used it to split off their section of the world and jettison it into the sea.
Okay.
And that created like a whole war scenario where the people rebelled because like, what the fuck? Now we're separate from all this land. You know, they haven't got any of this.
Like, what the hell? You literally just shot us into the ocean.
Yeah, literally. Like you saw like a town into the ocean, like a huge big town, but like into the ocean. And you know, that made the wizards. You know, they made an army, and the wizards attacked. They attacked the wizards, and the wizards used their weapon again. But this time they misfired and hit the actual continent itself and split it down the middle. And it, you know, and a lot of the wizards were killed in the explosion and all that. And the island looks like it looked like it was whole, but it cracked and drifted apart from each other.
Cool.
Hence the name Scardstone.
Oh no, the coffin fit has begun.
Huh?
The coffin fit has begun. That's okay.
Oh god, I need to go see a doctor about it.
Yes,
worse.
you do need to go see a doctor about it.
But fast forward like a couple of 100 years later, the wizards have refound the schematics for the weapon, and they're trying to rebuild it, and they used it again, but this time they had vastly less power, so they only split through like half of the continent, so the continent's only got a big crack in it as well. So we have two main continents of like where the second split happened, of where it's shattered, and then from that big piece it split another way as well. I can show you a map of it.
Oh yes,
I'll send it to you on PM.
Yes, if you have one, by all means.
There you go. This was years ago on Incarnate.
So apologies, everyone. None of you are going to be able to see this because I'm not sharing my screen directly. I'm sharing a specific window. That's a very cool map.
So the top right is where the main wizards were living, the big city area. And you can kind of see like the whole crack in the whole thing I was going for. And the slightly darker edges of where the world was burnt.
I like that. I like that a lot. Good job.
Hey, yeah.
Would you ever be willing to entertain the idea of doing it again, or are you just, nope, never DMing again?
Oh, dude, I don't know what it would take. It would take a lot, I think.
That's fair.
Oh, 'cause, 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 ' But so far, I've been like, nope, never again.
Nope. Never ever.
Never ever. I'll just keep this in my head. Thank you. Until now.
Oh look, let's put some dragon bones down here. Why not? Oh. You're a big boy. Bit too big, boy.
It has killed a huge massive dragon.
Yeah, why not? I think that's a good way to, make it a generally foreboding area.
Yeah, being like, so if this died here, why are we here?
Gloom and Doom, yes. Let's also add night. No, just Gloom and Doom. Remove night texture, and we want to put horror 4x3. No.
That's a great band name. Horror 4x3.
That's actually a pretty good band name. I do like that. That's pretty sick.
There you go.
There we go. We'll use a Corrupted Essence one.
Corrupted Essence is also a good band name. A lot of things could be great band names.
Oh god, yeah. See, and this is part of the issue. Like, I'm a bit too experienced with Incarnate now.
You're just super faced. Bam.
I have an idea, and I'm like, cool. I can do that. Bing bang boom. Done.
Okay. Then I don't know if you can do this. Do you want to bring up my map and like, would you want to? Since you're such an expert of it.
Battle maps.
Would you?
No, not world maps, but battle maps. But yes, I'll have a go. What are you?
You can have a look at it and like maybe give me some pointers or.
Certainly.
I don't know.
If you're willing for me to, what I'll do is I'll open it up in a window in.
Yeah.
Tunnel Lurkers layer.
Go right ahead. Has the stream frozen for you? Frozen from me?
No, it's catching
Cameras
up.
are frozen.
Yeah. You catching up, everyone, or can you hear us at least?
They can hear us. They can hear us.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe it's because it's saving.
Yeah, computer's like, I can only do one thing at a time, please.
You really look like you're concentrating. Yeah. Bear with us a sec. I'm just going to transition it to the break screen and then back to see whether it kicks in. What about now?
Oh, yes.
There we go. Don't know what happened there. So, let's...
It's just, we were concentrating so hard, even the computer was concentrating.
Yes, there we go. So, this is Doran's world.
Yes, this is Scarred Stone.
Scarstone. Cool. Let us work from top left. So unfortunately part of this is gonna pixelate because we're just looking at it as a JPEG rather than anything else.
So the top left was a man-made island built to... It's basically like Alcatraz. Is what it's meant for.
Okay.
Like the ground was like a really hard rock. I think I made it like pure marble or some shit. It's meant to be like a super high fantasy world. It was like a high... Yeah. It was made... It's pure marble. I had to mute myself because I was distracting myself. And it was built to be like... It held like beholders that we didn't want to kill because they held information about the capital, and they had ways to give it out, and held real bad wizards and dragons, and anything you can put your imagine to that would be worth keeping alive, but in prison forever.
Okay. Cool. Fair. I'm guessing the two towers that are relatively nearby it are two docks
So they're left.
or forts that would you would typically send your people off to this marble prison from.
Yeah, but if you can see around every border of the islands, they're kind of left over from the war.
Mm-hmm.
To see if like incoming armies are coming. It's like a last warning. It's kind of like if you like the Tower of Fire, you can see it from 100 billion miles away, and then the next tower can light. Next tower can light. It alerts everything.
Gondor has lit the towers.
Basically, but it is a more thing of like, boot camp. You send someone there. It's kind of like, was it Game of Thrones? The Wall.
The Wall. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of turned into.
Cool. So I can
see it's more as in the time of peace has come from.
So right up north in the chilliest part, I can see that there's a town.
Small town, yes.
Okay. So here is the first bit of advice that I need to give you.
Okay.
That town should be to the left.
Okay. Next to the river?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because unless they have irrigation, towns and settlements develop on rivers so that they have fresh water.
Right.
Much the same as your city.
Yeah.
Your major cities would have, even if they've built themselves up, they would create their own artificial rivers.
Yeah.
That connect to the rivers you currently already have.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the other things you would need to do is you would need to wind this a little bit more.
Wind what?
Wind the river. So it would actually technically go that way.
I can't see a mouse.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. So the mountain range that is immediately above your central city on the left-hand continent.
Yeah.
You have a lake shore that is running off, and then you've got a bridge that is crossing it. As you begin to go between the mountains, your river is deviating towards a mountain on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
It would do the opposite. It would deviate to the right because a river will always go from a natural slope. So because that mountain is so tall, it would naturally be further to the right than to the left.
I see.
Okay.
Because I think the reason I did that is because I always thought water travels downwards, so it would be going from the mountain feeding into the river.
So yeah, that would technically work if you didn't have mountains on the other side.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Because that's a much taller mountain. There'd be a lot more precipitation coming down that way. So the overwhelming water force would push it further to the right, and then it would start wearing away that direction rather than on the left-hand side.
Yeah. Makes sense.
As we scroll down, yep, these are perfect. You've put towns on there. These are relatively nearby enough that you could say that there's estuaries and things like that connect them. No issues there whatsoever. These would specifically, obviously, now if they were to be continuing existing, be on the coast.
Yeah.
Much the same as this one. You'd either have to establish whether it is technically over the river but that's just whether it's positioning for the map's sake. Those are fine. I'm just doing the whole river thing while I'm here. So, like this one, for example, you have a fort on your far right of your map.
Yeah.
That I'm presuming is either a fort system or some kind of orc tribe or something like that.
On the far right.
Yes, the far right from your central, far west of your western continent.
Yes.
Directly
Yes.
next to your largest lake.
Yes. I wouldn't say it's an orc tribe, but yeah, it's kind of more of a tribalistic village, yeah.
So inherently, they would need to be on a river.
Right.
Because if they're tribalistic, then the likelihood of them having wells is going to be really low. So, probably the best way to think about it is that certain cultures, and I'm only going to really speak about Native American cultures because I don't know a lot about Neolithic and prehistoric Asian cultures and things like that.
Yeah.
Northern Native American tended to gravitate towards areas like the Great Lakes or rivers and things like that, whereas those further south, so places like Mesopotamia and things like that, because they were in rainforests, they collected water rather than needed a water source, because you could pretty much guarantee in those areas of the world that you could have a thunderstorm probably pretty much daily.
Yeah.
That you can collect a good amount of water pretty sharpish, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
But obviously, with this being what looks to be more European, I'm presuming.
Yeah.
Because of
yeah.
Just because of how sparse the tree patterns are, it looks probably like you were looking at either the Alpine region or North Germanic going into Scandinavian inspiration. Probably inspired by Denmark quite a bit with your fractal islands. Yeah, that they are very heavily reliant on rivers, which is why you've got things like there was a short-lived country, or a proposed short-lived country, called the Danubian Federation, which was literally based on the idea of, we're all on the Danube River, let's become a country.
Fair. Yeah, right, okay.
Rivers and lakes are the two most important things when thinking about placement.
Freshwater.
Freshwater is...
Yeah.
It seems kind of bog standard to us now, obviously, because we're very fortunate to be Western and have clean drinking water out of a tap.
Yeah. We don't need to walk anywhere to grab it.
Exactly.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
And if you are going to walk, you don't want to be walking far.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So tell me a little bit more about this deserty kind of region you have down south.
So the deserty region. So I also had the main idea that each island or continent had their own like class in the form of like a D&D class. So like all the marshals, like the rangers, the fighters would all be on the leftmost continent, the biggest one. And the wizards and magic ones would all be on the right big continent. That's, I kind of fit that with the towers being like, wizardy towers, and like the ones being very square and, robusty towers. The sand area was more for like monks and stuff. Was the idea?
Okay. So, inherently, you have two issues with your desert area.
Yes.
You have a river that doesn't work.
Yep.
Because obviously, if you're following from your big mountain,
Yeah.
it flows down, it flows down, it flows down into a river.
Yeah.
That is just a crack. So that would actually be seawater rather than fresh water. Okay? Because that has no source.
Right. I see.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, yeah.
So that's fine. But because I think your intention was for it to be fresh water, being a river.
Yes, it was.
If it was fresh water, then you would have much similar to the Nile. You would have a band of oasis around it, because there's water which, when it evaporates, creates rain, which leads to vegetation.
Yeah.
So you're just from how it looks at the moment, if you were to leave that as being a saltwater divide, that would be fine. But the small river you have coming from your mountain would have that vegetation growing just on the sides of it, and that is where the majority of your civilization on those places would be.
Right. Makes sense.
Because it's where you can cultivate crops. It's where you've got fresh water. Things like that.
Yeah.
But again, that's just all stemming from the one conception you've had of fresh water is not an issue.
Yes, yeah.
I like this little wizarding tower immediately in the middle of a lake. There's a BBEG in there somewhere.
Yes. Yes. That's where they live. Or the wizard you sell all of your weird knickknacks to.
Yes. So see, with your wizard
over
city,
1,000 years old, even though he's just human.
With your wizard city, you've done it. You've created a river that goes straight through it.
Yeah.
I mean, technically there should be a mountain there or something, but that's fine. You can say that the city is basically built up on top of a hillock area or whatever, and that has just encapsulated where the original water source was. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is a palace of some kind up in your far north?
I think it was more of a college idea.
Okay. So a wizarding college and things like that, then, is it?
Yeah.
So, again, much the same thing of needs fresh water, blah, 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 blah. With some of your mountain placements...
Yes.
So, this is the next thing. With having... So, this was all originally one continent, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, where are your tectonic plates that have pushed together to create these mountains? When it was all when it was all one big thing, where are the tectonic lines that have created mountains?
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, which is fine. Again, if there wasn't one and you say it was created by magic, that's fine. But you then need to go, okay, that means that, yeah, so for example, if we go all the way to the north and go into the second crook just by where the ship is.
Yes.
You have a mountain range there, just in your wintry part.
Yeah.
If that wasn't formed by a tectonic plate at some point pushing against it to raise the land, then you're going to have to argue that it was from this super weapon that caused this great chasm. Cool. So where was the point of impact for this weapon? Where?
Yeah.
Because if it's cracked it, and moved things out, then it's got shockwave. It will have water will have moved around and displaced goodness knows how many people.
Yeah.
You've got things to consider of how did that change the climate? How did it change things? You could have a town, like you could literally argue that say which one? So the town just below your harbour city, right next to the one in the little forest.
Yes.
You could say that that one originally had a river running through it, but because of how the land has been changed, because it's no longer in the same climate that it once was, that river is now just dry.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work.
And you can create, and again, you could just create stories out of it.
Yeah.
But it's just considering those things of if this happened, and like obviously you've got that port city that is there. And I do like the fact that you've used two different art styles for it, because that's very clever, because it's before and after.
Yeah.
It's okay, cool. Like that. Where's that port city going to? Where are they sailing to?
I guess to the other continents and above.
Yeah. So it makes sense that this side has one major port city. That's fine. Absolutely no problems with that. I can see the only port that I can see on your other one is
There's no major
on
port
your
city.
southernmost part of that continent.
Yeah.
That's a terribly inefficient shipping route.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a reason for that, fine, no problem. You could say that these have built up and become like a Venice and Genoa kind of situation where they are just the two major merchant cities. That's no problem at all. But you have to consider and then give it a bit of lore as to why have these places become. Why did they choose this rather than setting up, for example, right on that pointed peninsula directly in the middle of the quote-unquote Divide River?
Yeah.
Or, for lack, because I'm just going to call it the Fractured Sea from now on, because I like the term.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Scarstone and the Fractured Sea.
It's good.
It's good. It's good.
It's good. It's good.
Scarstone and the Fractured Sea, also a good band name.
Yes. So, how long did you say it's been since this?
I did this?
No, since the event.
Oh, I didn't even. I just like, massive thing. A small crack happened. I can't remember which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was It wasn't a small one. It was still big. It was saying it was the bottommost continent.
Yep.
Not bottommost. The bottommost set of islands.
Yeah.
And then the big middle crack happened.
Mm-hmm.
The big middle crack happened, and then a couple of 100 years later, you can see the one on the left side, the biggest chunk, and you can see like there's two cracks going inwards that haven't quite joined up yet. That was the third attempt to use the Great Weapon, and failed because they didn't have enough. They didn't have sufficient magic supply.
Okay. So, in that time, you would have had some kind of erosion.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be beginning to see beaches in the Fractured Sea area. Unless they are hardline cliffs. Massive cliffs.
I tried to denote some magic residue with, like, if you can look at the thing, they can see like they're a different shade of brown.
Yeah, I
think like
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. So what I would just say is that you need to explicitly state that in the law.
Yeah.
That is what, for example, that is why this town down south is where they ship to, because the areas where the magical residue are, for to say, like they are such scorched earth that they're barren.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's essentially what it is. So they're
But
permanently scarred.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the only criticisms I have, because everything else is quite nice. I really like the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
You do need to add a dock on your left-hand side for getting to your marble prison.
Ah, yes. That's a good point.
Because otherwise they're just going to be, yeeted there from a couple of 100 miles away.
It'll take fucking forever to get there, that's true.
Yeah, because otherwise they're coming directly from the centre, all the way up through the middle, all the way across the north, which is just begging for a storm to destroy a ship.
That makes sense. No, yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
But the brown island on the right.
Yes.
The small brown island that's got a little sea monster next to it.
Yes, a little sea dragon. I can see it.
That's where the weapon was fired, and that entire area is just crazy magic. No one goes there. It's fucked up there. Magic's everywhere.
Perpetual wild magic.
Yeah, it's basically like a constantly active volcano of shooting mild magic everywhere.
So what is your...
You go there and you blink weirdly and your eyes turn to butterflies.
What is your...
Yeah, it's just weird. Eyes turn to butterflies.
I can't imagine a more horrifying result.
From blinking weirdly.
Yeah. Because are they still attached? So you just have butterflies in your eye holes. You're currently muted, by the way, but that...
Yes, they are still attached. And yes, they are just butterflies in your eye holes.
And I write horror monsters. I write horror monsters. That place is a place of nightmares.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. No one goes there. It's basically like this huge plot of land that no one's touched because...
Good.
Yeah.
You know what you should do? You should make that the other prison where you send all the ones where you don't care about keeping them alive for their knowledge. So
but they might turn into something horrible and come and kill you later.
No, it's fine. So we have magical Australia over here.
Yeah.
Literally just the penal colony of, we don't want you anymore. Go into this literal hellhole.
It's like wild magic if wild magic was a blender.
Yeah, literally what Phil has said. That's some Lovecraftian shit right there.
Yeah. No, yeah. Basically what it is, yeah.
It's like Cthulhu looked at you and went, you know what? I can do something with that.
If Cthulhu played God.
If Cthulhu played God while being bored.
Yeah.
If Cthulhu was that kid who pulled the wings off of flies.
Oh no. It's just, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much the only feedback I have for you.
Just my geography is bad. I understand.
But again, that's only something that I have learned because of map making.
Yeah.
And
this is my first attempt, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been practicing on and off for 3 or 4 years, so I mean, everything is learning skill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like it. I like the concept quite a bit. I may steal it off you at some point if you want me to run.
Leave the Butterfly Island alone.
Never.
Right, you can have it. It's fine. I'm not going to use it ever.
It's fine. I'm gonna start everyone on the normal continent and then just you on Butterfly Island. So what happened to you? My eyes are butterflies.
And my arm's a tapeworm. Yes.
Ugh.
Just one thick tapeworm.
No, not a
One
tapeworm.
small.
The veins in your arm have turned into tapeworm.
Oh. Let's end the stream.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. And we will catch you all soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.